Howdy, athletes. This is Coach Cliff with Iron Maid Fitness. And if you are an athlete, and everybody is an athlete, and want to transform your body, look better, feel better, live longer, live more productively, then you're in the right place. Oh, let me go back to that when I just said you're an athlete. I remember when I was coaching boot camp and I needed a name for the athletes, the people that were coming to boot camp. And so I just used to say howdy athletes in the emails and everything I wrote. As one lady said, "Oh my gosh, you called me an athlete. I've never been an athlete." And so I always I say, we're training for life. We're all athletes in life. We're all trying to feel better, look better, be able to perform better, whether that's just getting in and out of your car, up and down stairs, whatever it is, we're all athletes. So howdy athletes. So I'm going to give you some tips and tricks, some really cool ones. How do you eat? Because the diet thing, like, what do I eat? No matter how much we know, we're still confused of like, well, is this good? Is this good? Is that good? How should I eat? What should I do with this? And how do I don't eat much food and I'm not losing weight. I don't get it. So it's so confusing all the time. I'm not going to solve it all today. There's a lot to it. So put together a cool PowerPoint presentation. Oh, it's not going to be boring. Trust me. And this isn't very long today. To how to eat and look like a pro athlete. So let me take you in a different direction of looking at things. When we all want to diet and lose weight, that's what we do. We eat a diet, eat accordingly, don't eat too much, don't eat the bad foods so that we can get skinny or look good naked, right? We talked about that last week. Think about every athlete on the planet, and we'll look at some spectrums of athletes. They all look like they perform. In other words, let's take a sumo wrestler, power lifter, big athletes. They eat supportively so that they can perform at their sport. Power lifter needs a lot of mass to be able to power clean. Power clean is a bar with the weights on it, pulling it up, catching it right here on your clavicles or on your chest, and then they'll split jerk it or press it over their head. The split part is they're splitting their legs apart. 500 pounds for the guys. Like it's an insane amount of weight. They need some mass to have that inertia to get that weight up, right? So they eat like that. Sumo wrestlers, they need a lot of mass to push the people out of the ring. But then we take, on the opposite end of the spectrum, the skinnier athletes, distance runners, dancers, they're athletes, and what's the third one? Figure skaters. Figure skaters tend to be very lean. Those are the three sports that have the highest amount of eating disorders in them because skinnier is always better. It's not, but that's kind of the thought process. And usually those are high achieving people that want the most. So you look at the opposite ends of the spectrum, these people eat accordingly to get that performance first. Now, when you have like a Tour de France rider, right? Tour de France, I would argue, is one of the toughest sports in the world. They eat accordingly so that they can perform, and then their body just becomes what it is or what it needs to be for their sport. So you look at the kind of athlete you want to be, whether it's more of a CrossFit kind of body, whether it's more of a yoga kind of body. You have to eat supportively to get that outcome. And so think of yourself as an athlete first, and that you're doing your sport, and your sport is going to the gym, doing boot camp, doing CrossFit, doing yoga, becoming a runner, a cyclist, triathlete, whatever you do. It's not pro. You're not getting paid for it. I don't think we're talking to any pro athletes. You're doing the sport that you enjoy doing, that you want to get the result. You want to lose some weight. So we're going to learn to eat supportively for your sport, and then you automatically start looking like that. So it's a different backwards way of looking at it. All right, I got to do this. Haven't figured out how to do this yet, but I have to go to the other screen real quickly. Click to the next one. I think you should see that on there. So first one is, don't skip breakfast. Okay, complicated. We talk a lot about intermittent fasting. Not so much, but that is a tool that we as coaches have. We pull it out sometimes for people for a certain reason. So let's put intermittent fasting over to the side for a second. And I will tell you this, that a coach, I heard this from a marketing guy one time, and he said, as a marketing person, he said, I have no tips, no tricks, no tactics, no strategies. In other words, when I meet with an athlete, I don't know what we're going to do. When I meet an athlete, you meet with me, and we're going to sit down and create a plan for you. I don't know what we're going to do until I talk to you and figure out what do you want, what are your goals, what do you want to look like, what's your background, all those things. And then we create a plan around that. So I have no tricks, no strategies, and no tactics that I'm going to use for any individual person until I learn. So don't skip breakfast. There's a big asterisk by this. If you work out first thing in the morning, if you do, and not everyone does, But if you work out first thing in the morning, early, 5:30, 6, even 7, don't eat breakfast. Okay. If you go do a boot camp workout, whatever the workout is, you do your workout. You have an hour and a half of food still stored in your body. Oh, my phone's going off. Let me turn that off. Gonna find it. Where did I put it? Well, we'll let it ring. You have an hour and a half of food still left in your body that you can use. You have enough food for an hour and a half. So for most people, you can go do that workout that you do, probably 45 minutes to an hour. You'll be fine. You don't need to eat breakfast. If you eat something before you do that workout, you will start burning that food for fuel rather than the fat and sometimes some of the carbohydrates we have in our body. Now, if you're going to go do a big, long event, your practice is going to be really hard, longer than an hour and a half. You're going to run a marathon. You're going to go train for marathon. You've got a longer run than you need to eat before, because we lose 40% of our glycogen stores, our carbohydrate stores in our muscle and our liver. We lose 40% of that just by sleeping. So if you are going to go do this incredibly long workout or a race, yes, go eat. Otherwise, don't eat before if you work out before. So you will use and lose more fat for fuel if you don't eat beforehand. Now, once in a while, someone will come to me and say, come to your boot camp and I'm just dizzy, I'm lightheaded. And I say, then okay, then eat something if you need to, if you feel like you need to. But I will tell them that over a period of time, really within a few weeks, your body starts getting used to working out without that immediate fuel in your bloodstream, and your body has not. That people that are saying this to me, their body has not figured out how to pull fuel from the muscles, because we don't have much left in our bloodstream, really much any at all, from sleeping, to pull it from our muscles and our liver and start utilizing that fat for fuel, or the carbohydrates, start oxidizing it. Hasn't figured it out yet. So I say, go ahead and eat a banana or something light on your way over here. And then in time, I'll tell them, say, how do you feel? And say, hey, once you try a little bit less and then let's go to nothing, you will use more fat for fuel. But here's the deal. Throw this up on the chart. Let me get a marker real quickly. After your workout, so when you work out, oh, it's a horrible marker. When you work out, you will have up to 30 minutes where the reuptake of glucose or fuel or whatever you eat into your body will go right into your muscles. So the hormonal environment in your body is such within 30 minutes afterwards that the reuptake of that glucose into your muscles and not into your fat cells is optimal. So in this 30 minutes, and the marker's not working, so this is 30 minutes right there. So 30 minutes, can't even see that, can you? I'll get another marker. I'll just tell you about it. So in the first 30 minutes, whatever you eat will go into your muscle and some into your liver, but generally the worked muscles, it's like a sponge, it pulls it in. If you wait up to 2 hours, some will still go in, but if you wait for 4 hours to eat, then very little will go into those closed muscle cells, and it will generally more so go into your fat cells. So that's when we say don't skip breakfast. Don't skip breakfast after your workout, and eat supportively. So little funny, interesting thing is that for most people's workouts, you have 20 grams of carbohydrates that you can take in, and it will go right to your muscle cells. If all of a sudden you ingested 40 or 50 grams afterwards, your muscles aren't that empty, probably with a general 45-minute workout, and that will spill over and be stored in your fat cells, which is fine because there's turnover. It goes in your fat cells. If you're working out often enough, it'll come back out. So you want to eat up to 20 grams of carbohydrates in the 30 minutes right after you work out. And by the way, there's the cool little thing. Doesn't matter what that carbohydrate is. It could be pure sugar. Pure sugar, the type of carbohydrate in that 30 minutes, because of the hormonal environment, your body doesn't know the difference between a complex carbohydrate or a healthy, whole grain oatmeal and pure sugar. So that's what Gatorade, the fuel, the drink, was created for. At the University of Florida, football players were outside in the heat, but they were outside and they were working really hard, and they could take all of that. It wasn't made for kids playing video games. It's pure sugar. There is a time for that. So you don't have to do that. Don't just sit there. Don't think, oh my gosh, I'm going to go buy Gatorade. I'm going to go buy sugar. No, you can take in oatmeal. That's great. I say oatmeal. That's just what I do in the morning. So The reuptake of fuel into your body in the first 30 minutes after you work out is optimal. That it'll all go to your muscle cells and not into your fat cells. And then your fat cells will start releasing more fat for fuel. It's ideal. Don't eat before your workout if you possibly can. If you have to, eat a little bit. Your body will start getting used to mobilizing that. So that mobilizing those stored glycogen to use for fuel. And in time, you won't have to do that. So don't eat before you work out. Eat right after you work out within 30 minutes, at least up to 2 hours afterwards. And I just talked about carbohydrates. We want a breakfast that has protein and carbohydrates and some fat in it and the proper amount. And if we're coaching you, we tell you exactly how much that should be. Okay, next slide. I'm gonna jump back over, switch it over. Okay, here we go. Stay hydrated 24/7. How much water should you drink every day? 1 gallon, 1 ounce per pound body weight. So let's assume and that's kind of within reason. So there's 128 ounces in a gallon. Well, for most people, it's a gallon of water a day. So I have a bottle. I'm just going to bring it over here and show you, but it doesn't matter. 4 of them, is it a quart? I think there's 4 quarts in a gallon. All right. So 4 of those are a gallon. I put rubber bands around them, 4 rubber bands around it. And when I drink one, I slide 1 rubber band up, there's 3 at the bottom, and I fill it up. So I keep track that way and drink 1 gallon of water a day. Now, there's some people that need a little bit less. There's some people that need a little bit more. And there's some days you need more, and some days you might need less. 1 gallon is a good rule of thumb. That is something that I tell everyone, we're just going to go with 1 gallon. So drink 1 gallon of water a day. It is amazing how many things you will start to notice change in your body, like your eyes being blurry or being dry and hurting. Your skin will start looking better. Your hair, everything starts working better. And here's the other thing too. Every process in the human body happens in the presence of H2O, hydrogen, and those oxygen molecules. So why do we drink water? Because we need those hydrogen and oxygen molecules like in our body for every single process that exists. So when you're dehydrated, literally everything stops working, which is why we die faster not having water than we do food. Our body can use our fat and all of our body and start chewing it away for food if we're starving in the desert somewhere, but not very long without water. So 1 gallon of water a day, it's not hard to do once you start doing it. So stay hydrated is one of the ways to look and start and training like an athlete. All right, next slide. Boost your immune system. Huge conversation around this. COVID-19, right? COVID-19 hits. We don't know anything about it. We're learning about it. We're figuring it out. We're realizing that people that have a strong immune system were probably okay, even if they caught COVID-19. I had COVID, and I didn't feel good for a couple days, but I bounced right back, and I was fine. I'm not worried about a lot of the diseases that are out there. Should I be? Maybe. I don't know. But here's the thing is, working on your immune system is the one most powerful weapon you have against whatever pandemic, whatever disease, whatever flu, whatever cold, whatever you have, to stay strong, to live long, and to not worry about all of the things that have come and the things that are coming. I believe, I think we have a lot more stuff coming. So your immune system, what does that mean? Yes, it means eating healthy foods, but let's take a look at vitamins. So what vitamins should you take? How much should you take a vitamin? I think everybody should take a multivitamin. Okay, here's a list. I don't know how the marker's working. I'm just going to tell you. There was a list I found years ago, and I had a sports supplement store. So sports supplements, it was bodybuilding and weight loss type stuff, but we weren't carrying vitamins. I'm like, we need to carry a line of vitamins. So I looked up what was the best vitamins in the world, and there was a lot of lists, but the ones that came out on the top of like every list, number 1 was constantly USANA, which is a multi-level marketing company. Great vitamins. Most vitamins that are in those kind of companies are really top of the line. Second, and not necessarily second to it, but right up there at top was Melaleuca vitamins. And that is what Kelly and I take. We buy the Melaleuca vitamins. In fact, we signed up for it so we can get the vitamins. They're absolutely fantastic. I notice a difference. Kelly will rave about them. She'll say, when I haven't been taking my vitamins for a week or two, I notice this and this and this, my hair, my skin, how I feel, everything about it. So those are 2 multi-level marketing companies. The third one, and the one that we decided to carry in our store, was called Douglas Laboratories. So Douglas Laboratories, it's a company out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, that private labels for companies. So in other words, I could send them my labels. They could slap it on a bottle of vitamin D, and it looks like I'm selling my own product in the store. Kind of cool. Lots of companies do that. Since that time, they're on Amazon. There's another company that I like just as well as Thorne. Probably a lot of you have heard that. Thorne, Thorne, Thorne. Find those on Amazon. They're not the least expensive by any means, but you get what you pay for. They're very high quality. And I'd have to really do some reading again to explain how vitamin companies do all their get their quality up. But there's a lot of standards that they have with vitamin companies. So I use Thorne for some of my separate vitamins, and then I use Melaleuca for the multivitamin. So vitamin D is one of the most important ones. I can say that everyone I'm talking to is deficient in vitamin D unless you're taking vitamin D. America is very deficient in vitamin D. And why is that? There are speculations on why that's the case, but we don't necessarily know. But we know that we're deficient in vitamin D. And when we have a deficiency in vitamin D, we have an increased risk of our immune system is lower tremendously. We have an increased risk of cancer, of heart attack, of osteoporosis, osteomalacia, which is pain in your bone joint, especially in your back. Vitamin D plays a huge role in everything we do. And I think everybody should be on a vitamin D pill. The outside sun the sunlight creates vitamin D within our skin. So it's important to get outside and get some sun. 30 minutes on your skin is good. So if you're outside walking with a shirt on and long jeans on, try to get more exposure a little bit longer, but as much of your body as you can get exposure to as often as you can. So I grew up in Wisconsin. And when this came out, I remember when I was probably in high school, when the whole vitamin D thing came out, that we're low in vitamin D, that's when tanning booths were getting really big. And then we found out that tanning booths aren't good for you. And so really what it is it's an overexposure to the sun over a longer period of time, and you just have to be careful. I think that's a whole nother conversation for another time. Vitamin D is crucially important, but get your vitamins, build your immune system. You are the best weapon against COVID-19, against any other pandemic that comes. You have in your control the best weapons. You know, the people that die generally, I mean, you hear stories, I guess are true, people that get COVID-19 and they were perfectly healthy and they die. Okay, fair enough. Absolutely true. But for the most part, there were people that had immune deficiencies. They had other sicknesses. They had other things. So you have it in your control to do the best that you can to keep your vitamins up, to keep your immune system up. And it's not just vitamin D, it's all of the different vitamins. So taking a multivitamin, getting a good amount of different foods in your diet is very important. Okay. All right. Next slide. We're almost done. There's not too much more. There's 3 more quick slides. All right. Meal prep like a pro, but learn to do it fast. I hate meal prepping. Here's what I do is on my phone, I have MyFitnessPal. That's how we train our athletes, coach our athletes with nutrition. So we use MyFitnessPal. Most people have heard of that. If they've ever been on a diet before, we'll use MyFitnessPal. We will prescribe a specific calorie range. We will also eventually prescribe a certain macronutrient percentage range. To be able to eat those foods, you have to be able to meal prep, which is a pain in the butt. And I don't like it. And I don't do it. Here's how I meal prep. I make sure I have, and Kelly does too, we have all of the foods that we need easily to be able to pull out of the fridge, whip it together, and go. And so here's the thing is we also work out of the home, so we're here. It makes it different. Now, if you're going to work, you need to bring something with you. Okay, that's a different story. But meal prepping is crucially important because you need to know what you're taking in your body. If you're going to look like an athlete, if you're going to perform like an athlete, but if you can at least have the things you can just pull out of the fridge, put it together quickly and go. So for breakfast, I have an oatmeal. Kelly does too. It's the same exact thing, but we make it separately and because we measure and we weigh and we know exactly. I'm really fast at it because I know exactly what I'm going to put in. I've done it so many times and I'm done. It's easy. So it's oatmeal, it's yogurt, it's blueberries, frozen blueberries. And this isn't a recipe you have to do. It's just what I found is easy and I like it. Did I say yogurt? So plain non-fat yogurt, blueberries, oatmeal. Kelly will put apples in hers. I don't necessarily because there's more time in cutting up the apples. And then walnuts. So it's a little bit low in fat. I want to add some fat to it. So there's a small handful that I'll weigh of crushed up walnuts, sprinkle that in there, and it's perfect and it's good to go. I'm trying to think there's something else that, you put some cinnamon, some stuff like that in there. So anyway, that bowl of oatmeal is exactly what I need, weighed and measured for the outcome that I want to get. I like it. It's quick. That's how I meal prep is like, I just have all those things ready to go. So lunch, and then I do 2 shakes during the day. So the packets are all there. The shakers are all there. It's super quick and easy to do. I know exactly what's in there. I know what I'm supposed to do. And then lunch is generally a turkey sandwich. You're like, well, Cliff, there's bread and there's this. It's quick and it's easy. It fits into my macronutrients, my calorie range for exactly what I'm trying to get. If I wanted another outcome and that didn't fit into it anymore, then I would change that. But for right now, that's typically what I do. So meal prepping is important. Please don't make it boring and tedious, because you have to go into meal prepping and say, doing this is something I could do for the rest of my life. I don't consider what I do meal prepping. I consider what I do just having the things there so that I can do it very quickly, but it is important. Every single person that will come to me and say, okay, I've been doing this for a while and I'm not losing any weight. And we look at the calories and I'll say, so how much are you measuring and weighing your food? Which is boring and tedious, I know. And every single time they'll like, no, I mean, I eyeball it. Don't forget, we overestimate what we eat by like 90%. It's crazy. So you have to measure and weigh it in order to know what it is. And what's funny, as much as I know about this, I will measure and weigh my food and then get good at it. And then I'll quit doing it for a while because I just think that I'm good enough at it. And then I'm not getting results and I go back to weighing. I'm like, oh gosh, I really got off on that, just eyeballing it. So you can get off it for a while, but once you stop getting results, go back to weighing and measuring it. That to me is more of the meal prep part of it. Okay. Next slide is don't limit your calories. Okay. So the one thing that everyone does, and say everyone does, but lots of people will come to me and say, well, I just really don't eat that many calories. Well, there are a lot of people that don't eat many calories, and then on weekends or evenings or holidays or whatever, then they'll eat a lot more food, or through periods of life, they'll eat a lot more food. Well, you've lowered your metabolism, you lowered your thyroid, limiting your calories down too low. You don't feel good. You're not sleeping well. You're not recovering well. I guarantee your immune system isn't as strong. And so you're limiting your calories. And then it's so easy when you eat more in a given meal or holiday or weekend or whatever to store all of that as fat. So don't limit your calories. Picture of Tour de France riders there. It's crazy. So I went to the Tour de France in 2005. Whenever I say that, people say, so you rode in it? I'm like, no, that's like saying I went to the Super Bowl, and people say, so you played in it? No, the Tour de France is like literally at my best bike racing ability, I couldn't have even hung in the back of the pack for a day. Those guys are insane how fast they are. So in going out there and seeing them, oh Lord, they're fast. They're unbelievable. But anyway, they'll burn through 9,000 to 10,000 calories and then have to consume 9,000 to 10,000 calories per day during a Tour de France type day. And by the way, the Tour de France is 21 days in July, but then a week later, they've got the Vuelta a España, and then they've got all the fall races and the world championships. They do this almost year round. They're nuts. I think it's the hardest sport in the world. Interestingly, when they're in their off season, those guys eat what they want to eat. When they're coming into their season, which is early spring, like we're in the spring season now, but like in January and February, they will start weighing and measuring all of their food. They all do, to get back down to an exact weight. Now, to them, it's very specific. They want incredible strength in their legs. They don't want to lose muscle in their legs. They can lose some muscle in their upper body because they're not using their upper bodies as much. But they want to get down to as lean as they can, because those guys are racing in the Alps. And by the way, so going back to when I went to the Tour de France, I brought my bike and we rode a lot of the stages before the stage got there. So we rode a lot of the climbs, and some of those Alp climbs, oh my gosh, it's like you're just existing getting up there. And then a few hours later, you're on that mountain after you climbed it, and you're watching them go by, and they're not surviving. They're racing up that mountain. It's insane how it's pretty cool to watch. But they'll eat the exact amount. Even these bike racers who are riding 5-6 hours a day, they still will weigh and measure their food to get exactly what they want to be able to perform like an athlete. So it shows how important it is. But so don't limit your calories. This is really where I wanted to go with this, is eat to be the best athlete that you can. And then your body will start looking exactly like your training, and it will start looking like the food that you've given it to supportively become that athlete. So changing your mindset of eating to support yourself as an athlete. All right, I think there's one more slide. Don't undervalue the importance of recovery. So that's eating enough calories of the right kind of macronutrients of the carbohydrates, the protein, and the fats. And people are, if you're wondering, well, shouldn't we eat a high protein diet or a low carbohydrate diet? Not always. Sometimes, depending on you and what you're trying to do, that's not for everybody. What about keto? Well, okay, there's some reason maybe we can. So one size does not fit all, and that's why we customize everything for everybody. People will ask me, they're like, how much is too much working out? So the first thing, there is no such thing as working out too much in general, probably that you and I will do. Us mere mortals. There are world-class athletes that, yes, they'll overdo it. And you could overdo it too. If you're eating enough food, of the proper kind of food, supportive nutrition we call it, and you're getting enough sleep or just relaxation time, you can do a lot of work. So people, it's always kind of funny when I'm coaching boot camp or teaching a class or they're an athlete, they'll say, they'll say, I think I'm overtraining. I kind of laugh. I'm like, no, it takes a lot to overtrain, but you certainly could essentially overtrain if you're not getting enough sleep, recovery, and proper nutrition. So that's how we recover, is getting enough proper nutrition at the right time too. So you see this lady in this picture, she's drinking her shake within 30 minutes after the workout. So eating supportively, getting enough sleep, don't undervalue your recovery. And by the way, it takes us longer to recover as we get older. I know, I do. It takes me longer now after hard workouts to get ready and get back to the next workout. And I was going to put this in another video for another time, but I wear what's called a Whoop strap, WHOOP. If you go to whoop.com, it measures my heart rate variability, which shows recovery overnight. So it shows all the data about my recovery. And it tells me in the morning, you are not quite recovered for today. So your workout should be a little less than maybe all in. And then some days it gives me the green light to go all in. So I got a green light today, which it's kind of funny. When I have like a red light day, yeah, I can kind of, I usually will overdo that a little bit on those days, but when I have the green light day, I never go to where they say that I can go because it's a lot. So our bodies can handle a lot if we're getting enough nutrition, eating enough, and getting enough sleep. Okay. All right. Hope that helps. Sorry about my marker. I had some stuff to draw for you and show you, but there's a lot in this video, a lot of stuff to ask questions down below. If there's anything you have, and by the way, every Tuesday I'm doing the live stream, so I will start putting it out a little bit earlier so you have a chance to ask questions. You probably have a million questions with this. And if you want to debate an area, there's things that I say, let's go, let's debate it. And not that I'm right with it either. I love when someone can tell me it's like, hey, you're wrong with this part. I love to learn too. So I think everything I said was accurate, but not always. All right, so jump on our Facebook group below if you're not already a part of it. Our free Facebook group where we discuss all these things and we post all these things. And if you need help, we do free 15-minute calls with people all the time. The only reason we get on the call is to help provide value for you. And if you need additional help, we love to give additional help. But if you want to jump on a call, just comment below and we'll jump on a call with you and help you and give you value so that you can start eating like an athlete, looking like an athlete, living like an athlete, building your immune system, feeling better, looking better, and living your fullest life. Everybody have a great day.